Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining me today as I discuss masculinity versus manhood. I've done several videos regarding the beginning stage of being a healthy person as a whole before you go into relationships. And I discussed that because you have to be all of that prior to entering manhood, a whole person, a person who's mentally stable, who's have goals for their lives, who set objectives for their lives, who are striving to obtaining a life for themselves before they invite someone in. And this is important because manhood needs to be in relationship to be demonstrated. And as I do more videos, you'll come to understand what I mean by manhood has to be in relationship to be demonstrated. A man has to be someone that provides for himself and others, who protect himself and others, and procreate. And when he procreates, he begins that cycle again, able to provide and protect. So manhood needs to be demonstrated in relationship. It's not a solo venture. It's a lifestyle of being not self-involved, but more involved in relationships. And that's where you see manhood is demonstrated father to son. Manhood is demonstrated husband to wife. Manhood is demonstrated in a caregiver in a family relationships. Masculinity, on the other hand, is not demonstrated, does not rely on being demonstrated in relationship. It's a singular function. I am a man. This is how I demonstrate my masculinity. Masculinity is not relationship based. And I will discuss each separately, but today we're going to discuss masculinity. So masculinity, like I just said, is about self. It is characteristics, qualities that are attributed or regarded as characteristics of a man or boys. Understand, masculinity can be demonstrated by a man or a boy. Even people say women behave masculine. That is a masculine man. That woman is trying to be a man. These are qualities and attributes. And you see that differently because boys do not enter manhood. There's a difference. But boys can be masculine because those are qualities and attributes. And manhood is a lifestyle. It is how he carries himself. It is how he shows up when he deals with people. It is his example that he gives to others. It is what he pours into other people. But masculinity is singular and individual to the person. Now, there are attitudes and behaviors that signify and validate maleness. I do this because I identify as a male, so I want to have characteristics and qualities that signals to others I am a man and validates me as feeling like a man. And we have now a little abuse going on, and statistics and studies show that men feel pressured to have certain qualities and attributes to be considered a man. And other men judge them. Oh, you're not manly. You act like a woman. Or you've been influenced by women. You have characteristics. So they feel pressured to do the stereotypical things that identify men as male. So they do these attitudes and behaviors to validate I am a man. Some do it whether they want to or not because they have to be identified and validated. And these are socially constructed, culturally influenced behaviors. You can go to different countries and they have their definition of what makes a man manly. You go to India, it's different. Australia is different. And Europe is different. It changes. And so when we hear a cry from people, Americans, saying that manhood is being attacked, people don't want masculine men, it's not an attack. social constructs change as societies develop and move. We happen to have moved into a technological society where everything is advanced, and the normal characteristics that define masculinity and even manhood is not the standard. So the culture and society has changed, and the definition needs to be refined and redone, and men are feeling like something is being taken from them. And in my manuscript, in my book, Manhood Interrupted, it shows that this has happened for centuries. As societies developed, the different things needed for manhood changed, and they were different. Like I said, in Rome, when the Romans took over, it was considered low status for a man to do hard labor, to work, to sweat, to get dirty, do physical things. They lounged, they indulged in music and the arts and food, and then they was this first time when men were really taking baths and saunas together and enjoying male company and not doing anything. That period of time, maleness or masculinity was defined differently. So it has changed and rechanged. Even when Europeans went on from there, it was still money, but it was generational money. The blue bloods, they didn't do any physical labor. It was terrible. And seeing that you wasn't a gentleman, which was the man definition then, and that definition was having money, going hunting for foxes and pheasants, and not doing any, and being literate in classical readings and things like that. The focus on manhood was different. And then, of course, in America, when it came to America, it shifted again when men went to conquer the West. They were rugged. They were cowboys. They were able to survive on their own and depending on their own skills and that definition. So it went from a man of leisure, a man of education, very literate, loving the arts, architecture, enjoying music, not doing any labor, to be considered the man I want to become. This is the man type I'm reaching towards, to it reverted back to we like the cowboy and we like that rugged frontiersman, and that again he went to physical labor. His body could do what was necessary. A woman wanted that type of man then. So society has always shaped the definition of masculinity and manhood and what was accepted, and we're going through that shift now, and it's a little difficult on men. Men feel that women are driving the need for masculinity and manhood to change, when it's actually society, not women per se, because technology advanced. We don't need muscles anymore. We don't need assertiveness and aggressiveness like we used to. Those qualities of survival. He can make something out of nothing just from his brute strength. Now everyone are on a equal playing field, and we can push a button and we can have access to things. We're more protected. We move in areas where it's more protected with security and alarms. We all can fire weapons now. Back in the day, it was a man and his skill, a sharpshooter. Now you get that AK-15 and just brrr, and shoot and protect your own self. Even children can do more in their own safety and their own resources. And it's not brute strength and physical strength that a man was honored for as being the top, the alpha, because he could do all those things. Now we all can push a button and pretty much protect and provide for ourselves and even procreate with pushes of button, ordering sperms. It's just different. And so the definition of manhood's changing, and it's not driven by women, but women, it seems like it's women because we can be equal now, pushes of buttons and hiring and doing ourselves. It's just more easy. And we're not saying we don't need you. We still need you, but it's in a different way to show up. So society has changed a lot from needing that brute physical strength, a protector and provider, to it's such an even I mean, even kids can do protection and providing it with pushes of buttons and everything like that. So the playing field has changed, and what they're saying is the multitasker is needed. The multitasker thinking, able to use technology and advance in that and do the things. And it's kind of leaving men who relied on that physicality to get them through. Now it's about the brain. And women happen to be better multitaskers because of our nurturing. As I said in a prior video, manhood versus womanhood, with the ability to nurture, to teach, and to care give. It takes a lot of mental capacity to do that, to keep a young child alive and safe and cared for and nurture and pour in, to teach, to walk, to teach, to eat, to do that. And our brains multitask. And I had an interesting conversation with my husband earlier. Women are always talking and men say they're nagging. And I said, what is it about when a woman starts talking, a man seems to reject, even without hearing her? It's just noise to him. It's really noise. And she keep on going over and over and over and over. And they just like, oh my God, when will she stop talking? She's always talking. And a thought came to me, could this recoiling that men do when women open their mouths, it really doesn't matter the subject. It's noise, it's nagging, it's talking down to them, it's getting on to them, it's fussing, and the women are like, no, I'm trying to explain, I'm trying to talk to you. And men just like, oh my God, you would never shut up. And I thought about it. I'm like, women talk. And I said, we don't have an aversion to hear and talk because we're caregivers. It is most important that we get our children to talk, because we need them to talk so we know what care to give them. We need them to talk to know what nurturing they need. We need them to talk so we know what to teach them. So talking is of utmost importance to us. We encourage it. We want to hear it, do it. We need it. Child, please tell us. There's nothing more trying for a mother than when her child is unable to talk and she has to figure out all the cues, and she does. She knows what a cry means. I heard that cry. I understand that's a cry of pain. I heard that cry. I know that child is uncomfortable. I heard this cry. I know this child is hungry. Women even are able to tune into cries. Children playing outside, and you hear them hollering and stuff, and they like, oh, they just playing. Then they hear a certain holler, they know to run. We are cued into please talk, please express. And because that is how we can keep you alive, nurture you, care for you, and do all that. A man isn't in tune to hearing the way we are. It is noise to him. It is aggravating to him. And I said, well, why could that be? Well, a man hunts. He needs silence. A man fishes. He needs silence. A man is stalking prey. He needs silence. Silence is more important to him. The lack of noise is what he needs to carry out what he does in the evolution of what man were. They operated in quiet. Quiet was needed for survival. You wanted it to be quiet, because if it wasn't quiet, someone is maybe coming to attack you. If it isn't quiet, there may be a threat coming. So quiet is more in line with him. Women voices seem to throw them into a frenzy. What is going on? I don't know how to react, and they usually act with aggression. I need this to stop. I need the silence. You keep talking. So I said, wow, what is that, if that is a real true thought? Women are tuned in. I need to hear the sounds. I need to hear the noises. I can understand. I can detect. I operate when I have clear signals. So I give clear signals. I talk to encourage more understanding, so I know what to give. And men say, I need quiet. I need silence to operate. I need to be noise free, so I know my environment is okay. If I hear stuff, my reaction is to protect, to make sure everything's safe. That's what I react to, such noises as that. Or I hear this, and this is what I'm supposed to hunt and kill and do that. That is what he's wired to pay attention to. And this over here, He's not wired for that. So maybe there is some kind of evolutionary DNA biological connection to why men are averse to hearing women talking and discussing and going on, and they all call it nagging, or they all say she is always complaining and fussing, and women are like, no, I'm expressing my needs, I'm talking to you so we can fix this and address this, and they're hearing something else, and we're saying something else. And it, of course, the man wrote the book, what is it, women are from Venus and men are from Mars. We operate differently, we intake information differently, and we output information differently. You can have a conversation with the man and you're saying what you're saying, and you say, can you tell me back what I said? And it is not going to come back the same for most. There is some kind of disconnect in communication, and you get these partners in marriages, and what do they say? The communication is off. We can't communicate, and he's saying she's always nagging, and she say he never listens, and there is a disconnect there. But hopefully somehow that can be fixed. And I think it's a disconnect in communication now, where men thinking that women don't want them, don't need them, don't see them as masculine. And women are saying, oh yes, we need you, we want you, we think you're wonderful, but this is how we need you to operate for us in this time of what's going on. Remember, women are trying to operate also in society as it's changing, as its needs are different, and it's being met. The definition of womanhood has changed too. And women are under the gun also to be able to do so many things that were not in their wheelhouse. And you say, but they demanded it, they wanted it, and now it's a mess. They getting what they asked for. They want to be equal. They want to be allowed to do all the things a man does, and then they want to pull back and say, but I'm a woman. So it is a dynamic of balancing. Yes, I want to be a certain type of woman, and you're saying, yes, I want to be a certain type of man, and I'm defining this, and the woman define this, and that's what you work out in a relationship. That's what you talk about and say, that's who I'm bringing to the table. She needed to say, this is what I'm bringing, and the man said, this is what I'm bringing. And then if you want to go forward, you work and you compromise. People have done that forever. In the past definition of a woman and the past definition of a man, those two had to work together also. Remember I said it shifted from pre-Hellenistic time, we would say in Judeo-Christianity, where the Bible was a big instructor of how manhood was displayed and womanhood was displayed. Then, of course, that area was conquered by the Greeks and the Romans, and it changed the definition of manhood. Womanhood stayed relatively the same, but her importance was devalued in the home. She was not needed and not desired, and being married wasn't as highly elevated as before, and having children wasn't a big thing as it was early on in Christianity, where she having a son was important and the children they had was important. The more children they had, the more blessed they were, and she was honored in her home and everything. Then in the Roman times, I mean, if the man just didn't want any daughters, he could kill them. He could even kill his wife. The family structure, reverence went down, and the womanhood went down. And of course, it went on into Europe, where she was totally had no rights, couldn't own property, couldn't have a job. She was totally dependent on finding a husband with means and who treated her right, because he didn't have to, because she couldn't leave. If she left, she didn't have anything. She wouldn't have her children or anything. So it was really a trying time for women. I mean, their actual survival was, hopefully someone will want me and marry me and treat me okay, and I can keep my children and be in the family with my children. And she had to suffer whatever he did in the marriage, abuse, adultery, whatever. It was just, she had to accept what was given, and her womanhood was really was not valued at that time. And then once again, it changed, and it changed. And each time, both groups, men and women, have to evolve, find their place, live within societal norms and what they're doing until you make a change. And manhood is just going through a shift right now. It's not being destroyed. It would never be destroyed. Men will never not be needed. But the understanding of both parties of how the man is needed and valued, where he feels that he is still being respected and can show up with the dignity and integrity, but it has changed. It is not based on, oh, your brute strength is what we need to survive. Physical strength, aggression, and all of that is not needed for this world. A man that you call a beta man or a simp can do exactly what an alpha male does now. He can offer the same things that they can. And the alpha man who relied on being the strongest, being a warrior, being the best hunter and stuff, people just aren't gravitating towards that anymore. And alpha male are like, what they're doing is like saying, hit the gym more and buff up even more, when that is not what's needed to be brought to the table. And it seems like they don't understand what's happening. And I'm hoping I can give some insight or even start a conversation about it. And, you can completely disagree with me, and that's fine. But this is what I am just saying and putting it out there. And like I say, you have all the right to disagree. But that's what I feel is happening. And that's what I'm addressing as a writer, as an author, as I would say, spiritual counselor, or even a person that is an encourager through my Christian faith, to build you up, to encourage you, to tell you good things, to plant seeds, all of that. That's what I am doing. I'm not trying to tell you how to be a man. I'm just saying these are things that I've seen. These are things I've researched and looked at. And I hope it, if anything, just stirs a conversation. So there are 4 classifications that I've found that they have of masculinity. And remember, masculinity is qualities or attributes that are regarded as characteristic of a man or a boy. Don't forget, masculinity can be displayed by children, women, boys, and men. I know you don't like that, but because it's only qualities and traits, things I do, things I want to be identified as male, want to be validated as masculine. That's what masculine is. It's your outside calling card. Hey, look at here. I'm a man, separate from manhood, which is needed to be displayed in relationships. Okay, so there are 4 types. In hegemonic it's the dominant type. It's the type that most men are, what most men gravitate to, what society says you should be, what other men impose on other men to be. And it includes heterosexuality, whiteness. Most people are going towards the stereotypical homosexual white male as example. And this is an American thing, of course, because the white male was dominant as the slave owner, was dominant as the person with money, was dominant as the person with education, and still is trying to be dominant. If you're keeping up with political, what's happening in the political arena, we're saying the white man is really trying to hold on to power and influence in America, and it's making things very chaotic because America is immigrants, different ethnicities that want to have a voice and speak and be heard, and white America is having difficulty with that right now, and we're going through something, and we'll see how it turns out. But the stereotype, same thing for women. If you're mad, men say, oh, I'm not trying to be a stereotypical white man and have attributes of the white man. Well, the black woman has been doing it for centuries when we've been trying to straighten our hair because it was accepted as the standard of beauty. And of course, that was Caucasian. And we're still straightening our hair, and we're still buying other people's straight hair to put in our heads. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but there was a big indoctrination of saying this is what is ideal, the lighter skin. Even on social media, when you do in Facebook, when you do some of those, this is what you look like in 10 years, or this is what you'll look like in whatever, when they do that and it puts your face in another image, the black person is always lightened and their nose is straighter, and everyone loves the picture. And I'm like, the only thing that happened when they redid your picture in certain clothes, you know what I'm talking about, where you could put your image in something and you have a look. And the only thing that happened was they straightened their nose and they lightened them, and everyone like, oh, I'm so beautiful now. And it's like, oh my gosh, do you recognize that we're feeding into the standard of European look is the best look? People are doing nose jobs, straightening their, thinning their nose, of course, doing lighteners. In India, of course, it's a caste system, and the darker people in India, women are not as attractive as the lighter people. So I know you may be saying, hold the phone, I'm not into a white man is what I want to be as my goal of being masculine. But it is in this article of what hegemonic masculinity, the most dominant type. It includes heterosexual man, whiteness, superiority, physical strength, suppression of emotions. And we know women always saying, you don't talk, you don't talk. Yes. And suppression of emotion. And men keep talking about, you're trying to feminize me. I don't sit and talk and go on and on like you do. And so it's really ingrained and not seen as masculine at all to sit and talk about your emotions. So we have all those types, and this is the dominant type. Superiority, I'm top dog, I want to rise, I want to become over everything I do. No matter what I'm involved in, I need to be the top person, giving the orders, making the most money, in charge, not challenged by anyone, making all the decisions. Physical strength, like I say, a lot of the sites are telling men to exercise, take care of your body, beef up and be muscular. Physical strength and suppression of emotion. So that's the dominant type. That's the category most men want to be in. And even with the whiteness, we see a lot of men that are successful, that do reach high positions. They do marry outside of their race and not into blackness, and we wonder why. I have nothing to say for or nothing against. You love who you love, and whoever matches you and fits your ideal is what it is. But we do see men when they become successful and they say, oh, it's because the other woman, what? She's don't appreciate you. She's what they say, angry black woman. And it's a lot of reasons why, but it may be because whiteness is the sign of, I'm a man, I've made it, I'm in this area, I'm elevated, and I'm so forth. And then this white woman who's in that category, or what we say, in that position of where I am, that's what I run into, that's what I'm exposed to. And now she has all the characteristics that I like and enjoy. And so that is who you choose. The next one is a complicit masculinity. And this is a person that's passive in expression. They don't challenge the dominant type of masculinity. And they benefit from being, they get benefits of not challenging it, going along with, they get the benefits of being male with the hegemonic characteristics. So they're not out here trying to be masculine. They're not aggressive. They're not doing all these things of physical strength or trying to exert their superiority. But they're like, that's not for me. But I don't say anything. I go along with I'm kind of get the benefits of what these males are doing. This isn't someone that says, I don't want to be like that. I'm nothing like that. they're just kind of quiet, going along with the flow. And people are like, oh, I know what I say. He's a strong, silent type. That's what you say. He got all of these things. He's kind of manly, he's not talkative. But he's not that super aggressive alpha male. And you say, oh, I like him. He's the strong, silent type. And you hear women like prefer those strong, silent types. So he's complicit masculinity. Then you have marginalized masculinity. Now, these people lack physical strength. You see people, their body is just not meant for muscles. I don't care what they're doing. They're not beefing up. You get people that abuse the steroids, and then they run into their problems. But these young men or men, there's nothing they can do to be that buff, masculine man that when he walk in a room, everybody know he's able to win the fights in the bars. He's able to do feats of strength, he's just not going to be that type of person. So he's kind of marginalized. People kind of pass him by, nothing to see here, but we know he's a man. This includes, even disabled men, and men that have had problems. They become marginalized. They lack physical strength, but you know what? They still express, even the guys who have never had the muscles, who won't be doing all of that ascension to high place due to his aggressiveness, due to his intimidation of his size and stuff, but they still adhere to the suppression of emotion, heterosexuality, superior men should be in charge. But you probably hear more complaining from these men because they can't be that embodiment of that alpha type male, that super aggressive male, the one you don't want to start nothing with, the one that men believe all the women run for because of his physical attributes. So these men don't have that, but they still at home being dominant and doing this and suppressing emotion, and I'm a man and I don't have to talk and do all of this. So those are the characteristics of the marginalized man. They just really don't have the physical strength or the imposing thing. They aren't the 6'1" men. They're the 5'2", 5'3" men, but they still adhere to I'm a manly man. Then you have the subordinate masculinity, which is opposite of the hegemonic, and I'm gonna spell it Hegenomic, hegemonic masculinity. This person demonstrates femininity, and their traits including physical weakness, and they express emotions. They are the opposite, and they aren't trying to be like that. They don't want to have those stereotypical traits. They're just not involved in it. They're more feminine. People give them all kind of names. They just named everything. And like I say, there's a lot of abusive language between men, a lot of pressure and stress to demonstrate masculinity. And it's just really, and I wish men would look into it and find out why you have so much animosity towards men that are not in the category of what other men in their culture says should be a man. What is the problem with other group of men who are not trying to be superior or have physical strength, or who decide not to suppress their emotions? It's just so much animosity towards them. And excuse me, it's a lot of noise. My husband is doing a lot of noise right about now. So those are the 4 types of classifications of masculinity that one person offered. And like I say, I don't list people. I will for manhood list names of people. But what I want you to do, if this sparks interest in you, I want you to do your own research. I want you to be curious and look into it and say, oh, this is a bunch of baloney. Let me see something else. Or yes, this is something I've never heard before. Let me look into it. That's what I want. I will give references and I will give people credit for their thoughts and their work on certain things. But right now it's not relevant because I won't give you the originator of these ideas, because these aren't things that I am just pressed and say, this is the way, this is so true. No. When I do believe in something a lot and I want to endorse it and encourage it, I will give you a reference and a name and like that. But when I'm just broadly talking and just bringing up the subject matter and comment for thought and for inspiration, or to encourage you to look into something, I will be general and speak on it and bring it up. So I don't adhere, and I haven't adopted, and I will not say, oh, these are just how men are, and these are categories, and they go into it, and they belong to it, and I think you should think about it, and you should choose and decide. That's not what this is about. So it is just to bring up, to get conversation. And I hope there would be a lot of conversation between men. And like I say, when you reject a lot of things, you make your world so much smaller. You can reject what I'm saying, but you need to make your mind and thought bigger by looking into other things that seem to work, that seem to resonate with you, to seem that it will grow you into a better person with understanding. So that's what I'm doing. Now, masculinity, because it's outward displays and something that you are putting out there for others to judge and validate and label you and know that you belong to a category that is maleness. Remember, I said boys can do this and women can do this. If I chose to be masculine, I can be masculine. I can adopt qualities and attributes that others will recognize and men will recognize and say, oh, she is masculine. I can do that if I choose. But the things that go with masculinity, it is strength, it's courage, it's independence, it's leadership, it's assertiveness, it's aggression, it's self-affirmation, it's social dominance, and someone said lack of consideration for others goes in with masculinity. And I hear a lot of men are encouraging other men to be stoic in relationships, and to be stoic in relationship is to have lack of consideration for others. I'm not paying attention to you. I'm not available to you. I don't express how I'm feeling to you, so you won't know it, and therefore use me. Those are shields from fear to protect you. It is a fear response. You're not in a relationship if you're acting out of fear. You are not in a relationship if all you're concerned about is protecting self, because I'm afraid of rejection. I'm afraid she may leave me. I'm afraid she's going to cheat on me. I'm afraid she's using me. You are not in a relationship. So when those tell you to be stoic towards someone, you are exhibiting a lack of consideration, and that is being tagged with masculinity, and you are all the doubling men are doubling down on it. You're darn right. This is what a man does. This is masculinity, not to be showing someone how you care about them and reacting like that. So yes, lack of consideration. I hated to put that in there as an attribute or character of manhood, but it is being touted and encouraged to do it, and it's just a lack of consideration. I don't know who's going to stay with you. I really don't know who's going to stay with you if you behave in stoic. It is satisfying you. Remember, masculinity is about self. Manhood is about in relationship with others. So a man can adapt masculinity. He can live all his adulthood in masculinity, but it is different from manhood. It is absolutely different from manhood. Masculinity has everything to do with self. Everything about him. Manhood incorporates others. It's expansive. It's outside of self. It's thinking as a whole in the totality. Masculinity is self. Masculinity can be demonstrated by boys, by women, by those they have labeled as blue pill, simps, whatever, all those abusive names, he's feminine, all of that is in manhood and masculinity. And I hope the men that are giving advice to young men about how to attract women, and that's all they're doing is attracting them for a short time. And that's what they say, you'll have the women of your choice. And the women of your choice that are attracted to that, they are only there for a little while, because masculinity is not a relationship. It's not. So you're going to get a lot of probably women attracted to that. But that is not going to be a dynamic that lasts and that stays. And you better have some more in line, because they're going to keep going through. And hopefully, if that's what you're enjoying, I'm hoping you're having a good time with your number count, because you won't be in a relationship. You won't be long term. Women will know by how you are, what you're fishing with, what you're bringing to the table, not who you're bringing to the table. They are responding to that. This is an in and out. It's almost like what they do, that quick grab when they flash mob, when they run in there and steal and run back out. That is what's happening. The women recognize what you're bringing to the table, who you're bringing to the table. I keep saying what because it's so ingrained, but it's who you're bringing to the table. They understand what you're offering, and it's doing a quick run in and a quick grab and get out. It really is. And it is what you're presenting is what you're attracting. And I hate to say it. I really do hate to say it. It's the pool you're fishing in. You're fishing in a pool that wants that in and out. When you decide that I want to step into manhood, I want to be in a relationship, and what I bring, who I am, that I'm bringing here, a whole and healthy person, a mature person, and I'm fishing in a pool that wants that. I'm fishing in what I desire, but I'm using the bait that will be wanting who I am and what I have, who I am. So yeah, masculinity is important. There's no need to tell you that masculinity is not important, and it's wonderful. I mean, if you still just, it's you getting stuck in, I got to belong. I need the world to know I'm a man. I want everybody to know I exhibit maleness. And if that's your focus, then it's your focus. But masculinity also only goes so far. I mean, how much of a man? It starts to be, how far do you want to be identified as a man? What are you doing? You want to be identified as a top tier man, superiority, and you get caught up in that. And that is not relational. That is self. That is ego. That serves the person. And that's good. That's fine. But that is nothing to invite a woman into a relationship. Even your children, all you're inviting them in is that I'm superior, I'm physically fit, I suppress my emotions. Everyone in my community stamps me as a real man. I'm a real man. That is not relational. You aren't feeding into anyone. You're not supporting anyone. You're not helping anyone to grow and develop with that. So masculinity is totally separate from manhood, but you can carry those masculine things into manhood, but superiority is not going to work. Suppression of emotion is not going to work. Pretty much the whiteness aspect of elevating, and I want to become him instead of living in your identity and whatever ethnicity you're in, and that being okay. And even when it says whiteness is a part of it, you hear a lot of the white man is keeping me down. The man is doing this. The man is doing that. Even the attitude is reflected on, is consumed by that white person. And yes, we have struggles, and yes, we have difficulties, but the way to overcome it is not to focus. And I say that even in relationship with Christianity, it focuses so much on don't do this, don't do that, you're not allowed this, and God said you can't do this, and I said, hold on, when are people going to start talking about the beauty of what you can do? Why aren't we always saying what you can do as a Christian and living holy, and what is wonderful that you can do? We're just hearing people, you can't, not attractive, who wants that, not even happy. The same thing with masculinity. When it's just so focused on the outside, people won't let me, I can't, it's hard, this is difficult. If that is just a mantra constantly, I'm unable, they won't let me, he's doing this and keeping me down, it becomes something that's tattooed on your brain. It's seared in your brain. People won't let me, I can't. It's time to say, this isn't working here. I need to focus on doing this here. I know the opposition is so strong, but I need to find an avenue that works around it, gets over it, that gets under it, and goes through it. And if you ever noticed in my videos, I say people stop when they hit something they don't like, they get stuck in the complaining. They get stuck in the complaining mode and they don't move into stagnation. It becomes isolation where you're pulling back. When you start saying, the man keeps me down, I can't do this, I can't do that, you're starting to pull down. The complaining wall goes up and your world becomes smaller and smaller with those bricks of complaining. And it does lead to isolation. It does lead to depression. And when people have poverty and depression, it leads to violence. And we're seeing a lot of that, but we need to be more expansive. It's difficult. It's hard. But people have done it for centuries, not isolated and shut down and became small in their own space. By that, they kept plowing and plowing and plowing. I love it when people say, you think my success started last year. You didn't see me behind the scenes for 20 years doing all the input and work. All you see is now the benefits and the glory. And you say, I want that. But you could not have went through the struggle, the doubt, the negativity, the failures I went through before I got to where I am. What did they say? Michael Jordan, the basketball player, got cut from basketball when he was young. He could have stopped. They won't let me play. I'm not good enough. The coach didn't like me. The team people said I wasn't a good player. Nobody wanted me. He could have stopped there. His world would have got smaller and smaller, but it became expansive because he kept plowing through. He kept saying, this avenue didn't work here. Sometimes you have to sit on the bench for 2 and 3 years and move to another whole place and try again. And if you say that man is doing this, for 3 years you may have sat there and got rejected, but then the move changed, your growth changed, things changed, and you was able to be more expansive and do things. So if you're ever in a complaining state, you have to know you're getting smaller, you're getting boxed in, and you're going to go to isolation. That's when you start saying, I don't care if people like me, family will hate on you, blah, blah. You start doing all of that, making those walls thicker and closing this direction. So people think a wall can go higher and higher, but remember, walls can go in this direction, stack them thicker and thicker. And once you're boxed in, it probably go higher then. So when people demonstrate masculinity, it lends itself to risk-taking behavior to prove maleness. And we all know that. Men do crazy stuff to prove I'm a man. Dive off of things like a toddler, running the thing, drive fast, that racing and flipping, and doing so many risk behaviors to prove maleness. And many of these are harmful to the man's health. Lifting weights and that are way too heavy. It's just a lot of things that are risk to the health, mental health, emotional health, physical health, risk to life and die, improving masculinity. And in manhood, there's no risk taken when you're in a relationship, because you know the importance of you need to be around. You know the value you are to your family, to their future, to your relationship with your wife. You would never like to leave her a widow, taking care of your children by yourself. So masculinity thinks about self, and manhood thinks about relationship. So I hope you'll stay tuned and join me for when I have a discussion about manhood. I really appreciate you stopping by. Please like, share, and comment. If you have any questions or you want me to clarify something, please do. If there's a subject you would like me to address, just let me know and I'll do that. Hopefully you're having a wonderful day. Today happens to be Valentine's Day, and I hope everyone who is in relationship, maybe you have a discussion or look at this video together and ask your partner, what do you think about that? Is there a difference between masculinity and manhood? Or saying, oh, this is something I think I want to look into. And share it with her and get her insights to see what she thinks about masculinity and manhood. But I appreciate your time. As always, don't forget to buy my book, When Will Eve Be Forgiven? It's a look historically at how the Bible has spoken about women and womanhood, how the church forefathers thought about women and their creation, and the teaching that has happened from that time to modern times. And it's the church getting it right with sound doctrine with their discussion on woman and womanhood. So once again, look forward to my next video on manhood, and I'll see you there. Have a great day.